past 2 years, I have read 14 books from the author called Frederick Dodson. Mentioned him already. From everything that I read so far, I can say that approximately 50% of his knowledge is directed to you, so that you can create your life, create yourself, heal yourself, do whatever the fuck you want to do without strings attached. And another 50% is a reason why I love to read his books, and that is pure multidimensionality. When I come in contact with knowledge that is being channeled through the mind that is expanded beyond time and space and multiple realms, it just feels like home to me. Anyway, currently I'm reading a book called Clearing Entities, which speaks about the importance of names and how names affect our choices and actions. He says that it is not uncommon for people to put their reality creation intentions into names of their businesses and logos. Names bypass conscious reasoning and communicate straight with the subconscious, which means that meanings and associations linked to names work with human subconscious mind, even if people never really consciously think about it. Words also have vibrational frequency, which can attract or repel people from your business, which can be positive or negative for it. But words having vibrations apply not only to business names and brands, it applies to all the names, personal names too, pet names. He says that each name has an imprint and invites the reader to actually think about, how did your name impact your life? Well, I think my name is a perfect case study for that. My name is Dolores, which comes from Spanish word dolor, which means pain. Some Spanish-speaking people told me that it's actually not pain, it's pain in plural. It's like multiple pains. It's like a lot of pain, suffering, sorrow. And I love my name, honestly. I think the name Dolores is a very powerful name. I think it's empowering. It is dark and mysterious, and it exudes character in and of itself. It's like a fantasy character name. Did it cause me a lot of pain? Well, I wouldn't blame my name for the painful aspect of life, but I can't deny the pleasure of how perfectly it fits to what it is that I'm doing, and that is painting. I had a chance to feel, explore, transmute, heal, and depict a bunch of pain in my painting practice. Speaking of which, my artist name is Dolores Mephistopheles, where Mephistopheles, pronounced differently depending on where you are on the planet, stands for a demon or a devil. And I know I shouldn't explain myself, and I know I shouldn't explain art. Some people could even tell me that what I'm doing here is not really that spiritual, it is very human. But that's what Mephistopheles is about. It's about being human. It's about how is it to be a human. It's about how to be a human. How to operate this body. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, astrally, spatially, organically, technologically, synthetically, sexually, cosmically, playfully, and how not to. I think knowing that is important. Excuse me. Are you gonna see how I drink water? On the other hand, I've been misunderstood and taken wrongly because of my name. And I know It's a part of the human experience. It's a part of the game, especially if you're putting yourself out there for whatever reason. And I can understand that many people don't think the way I do. They don't do what I do. They don't relate to the world the way I do. So it's easily understandable to me that there are people who would make a decision not to do business with me because of the meanings and associations linked to my name. Especially when I'm not social media famous, which, by the way, if that's a requirement, that's Mephistophelian AF. But it didn't sit well with me, because I generally don't have an intention of making a world a bad place. I don't gain my personal power out of making other people suffer. But to those who do suffer already, if I can help to grow, to heal, to learn, to expand out of their suffering, then I will. Look, I like the idea that we can just transcend our humanness and live blissfully on top of the vibrational frequency scale, whether here on Earth or somewhere else in another realm. But in order to get there, I believe we first have to know how to human. But like, for real. Not to merely exist like spiders and act like a human would act, but to actually take responsibility and accountability for ourselves and to actively live through every segment of our being. I think to really know how to human, how to deeply understand ourselves and others, is a foundation of whatever multidimensional route or superhuman form we decide to take. So if I ever need to do a declaration of my name, I'm going to do it right here and now. Mephistopheles is a demon in German folklore and represents a devil in Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's Faust. It's a demon that belongs to literature only. It is not recognized as a valid demon. It doesn't belong to traditional magic or demonology. It is a fictional character. I could end my declaration right here. But one way or another, the name has a demonic connotation. But let's go back to the beginning. It was 2008 or 9 when I was in high school and Facebook was popular. Not just that Facebook was popular, it was popular to have a middle name. In Croatia, where I lived at the time, not many people have a middle name. So most of those who don't have it got very creative in filling that space. Everyone had their funny, stupid, sexy adjective or nickname in the middle that showed their individuality or sense of humor. And I didn't. I created profiles to my dogs and gave middle names to my dogs, but not to myself. At that time, Goethe's Faust was a mandatory piece to read for the class of Croatian language and literature. It was one of those you better read twice, and if you don't, then you better don't show up in school because the professor was kind of dominatrix. And so I read it, and in it I found the name Mephistopheles. The name felt very mine. I felt it in my chest. So I named myself Mephistopheles on Facebook. And this is how I felt special as a teenager. I had a badass name on Facebook that nobody else had. It wasn't just inserted into a specific space, it was a replacement for a part of my identity. Over the years, my presence on Facebook decreased and the name didn't seem so relevant, so it never really bothered me. I've encountered people who were unable to pronounce it and very few who actually knew where the name is coming from, but nobody really bothered me for it. Until I started painting in 2020. When I started painting, I had to choose my artist name. I considered my real name and Mephistopheles, and after some thinking, I concluded that Mephistopheles kind of fits better with the aesthetics of my paintings and the devious lifestyle I had at the time. Thanks to painting and overall healing that took place intertwined with painting, my devious lifestyle slowly dissolved. As I progressed in painting, I was presented with a considerable amount of adversity, both in physical and astral realm. Some people might call it dark night of the soul. I embraced deep introspection and shadow work as a way of going through it all, but inevitably I came to the point of questioning whether all the adversity and seemingly endless shadow work that I needed to go through came as a result of choosing Mephistopheles as my artist name. From the point of view that I had at that time, I didn't choose the name. The name chose me. It felt like it was my responsibility to wear that name and see through it, to see every detail of it, and to know the character inside out. It felt like it was my responsibility to do something with it. While deciphering the meaning of the name, I remembered that in my teenage mind, in my teenage years, I needed to feel special and different. I wanted to fit in so badly, but I also wanted to be different. I wanted to feel universal. My real last name was among one of the most common names in the spaces of Balkan. It probably still is. And that didn't make me feel special. To have some funny nickname in the middle of first and last name, just like everybody else, didn't make me feel special either. But replacing my last name with Mephistopheles did. Through remembering that, I was able to see the root of all evil, and that is inner fragmentation that has ability to attract negative entities or energies. It's when you don't recognize that who you want to be, how you want to be, what you want to be is already by default inherent within you. When you don't recognize that, then you embody the negation or the absence of it. And what it is that you need in order to feel fulfilled, you see outside of you. You project it onto the external from you, and you take it from outside in. It's when you have a blind spot in awareness of who you are. And that comes in countless forms. For example, you could be taking substances in order to feel a certain way or experience reality in a certain way. Or you could be totally blind to the potential of how much fun you can be and have, and feel bored and lonely instead, and spend your time and energy watching other people having fun on social media. Or you could enter a relationship with somebody who isn't compatible with you, and they're not really the healthiest choice for you, but their approval means the world to you. And so you hope that they will make you feel lovable. You get the point. It's like when you have an itch for something and you're looking for something to scratch that itch. And you find something, you find a solution. And once you find it, the life is like, oh my God, yes. So beautiful, so expansive. You find people and fun and pleasure and lust, and everything you ever wanted is there. You want to give 110% of yourself to it. You might say things like, I will never stop doing this. I never want this to stop. And life is beautiful for a second. It truly is. It seems like all your problems are gone, or at least you're removed far enough from them that you can just enjoy being alive. And then inevitably at some point you find yourself in that space where you don't want to be, and that is a space where you realize that your solution was not really sustainable over time. And it's not even about sustainability. It's about the fact that you lost something on the way. Your time, your energy, success, whatever that means to you, relationships, aspects of yourself, or at least access to those aspects of yourself. Maybe some innocence. And in order to keep the solution appear to be going, you have to lie to yourself and lie to everyone around you. And that takes a lot of energy. Until eventually you come to the point of realizing, like, okay, actually, no, it doesn't work. It represents all these things that at the beginning were so expansive and freeing and liberating and enriching and beautiful, but they chained you and became prison after a while. Reaching out for something external from you in order to make yourself feel fulfilled comes from not recognizing the wholeness of yourself. And there's nothing and nobody to blame for it. Actually, I don't think we're supposed to be here on earth in our wholeness throughout the entirety of our lifetime. We come as whole, we lose our wholeness, and then eventually, sooner or later, in one way or another, we come back to our wholeness. Each and every person goes about it in their own particular way, even if it appears that they go in a completely opposite direction. Adversity of any level or severity is here to show us the way back to our wholeness. All those holes in our awarenesses are here to provide us with certain earthly experiences. There are no experiences that would happen as a pure absence of life, time and space and air that would accommodate our shortcomings. And through those experiences, you get to see that there is still love for us. No matter what is happening, Earth is still providing space and all of its elements for us to experience our states of being, for whatever purpose we knowingly or unknowingly have. Those experiences enrich the collection of our life experiences, providing us opportunities for self-recognition, for development, growth, depth, wisdom, fun, pleasure, amusement, and silly stories we tell to each other. I certainly had plenty of life experience that came out as a result of not knowing my worth and my value, not having self-respect and self-love as ideally I should have had. And some of those experiences I know 100% that in a clear state of mind, with the right amount of self-respect and the right amount of self-love, I would have never had. And because I had them, now I know that I would be missing out. So I have no regrets. All of it was an expression of life. All of it brought some certain awarenesses, understandings, depth, wisdom, pleasure, amusement, fun, joy. Or if anything, it was a butterfly effect, at least for somebody somewhere on the planet. In other words, all of it is a necessary part of life. I believe in full spectrum of life experiences, and that comes with heavy dose of contrast or duality and non-duality. That's a standard I hold for myself. I never wanted to be just successful, just rich, just positive, just happy, just have it all figured out. I wanted all of it. I wanted all of it. I wanted to meet all aspects of myself, and not just those that I like, and not just those that you would easily like. So I'm immensely glad for all the contrast I ever had in life. I absolutely love that in this one single lifetime, I had the experience of seeing how it is to live, being identified as an atheist, and seeing the world through that lens. That was in the time of university. From an academic point of view, that seems to be the most correct view on life. And I lived through it. I didn't care about God. And I've met plenty of other people who didn't care about God either. But then I'm also glad that over the recent years, I came to find, experience, and realize what you would call God for myself. Not in a dogmatic religious way that I was taught in a church as a child, but in a way that actually speaks to me, in a way that is true and organic to me. I'm also glad that in this lifetime I had a chance to align myself to the life that I really wanted to have for myself, becoming that version of myself, living that life, getting there, and experiencing the pure bliss of getting there. But at the same time, it also came with plenty of unhealthy relationships with people, with substances, depressions, suicidal episodes. And all of that helped me to see for myself which mindsets, which energies, which influences played roles in both sides of the extremes. It allowed me to deeply connect, to understand, to hold space, and hopefully help to those that suffer from the same issues that I've had. And I absolutely love that in this one single lifetime, I had not one, but multiple cinematic love stories that were so good to live. But some of them inevitably came with massive heartbreaks that took me years to recover from. Yeah. Not days, not weeks, years. Because recovering was never about moving on. It was about moving back into the body. As the name revealed to me how people come to fall to negative influences in all possible variations, it seemed as if my younger self did a favor to my future self by giving me a name that is going to be shadowing in and of itself and represent the shadow work, which is a leitmotif of my paintings, and I'm thankful for it. But as it happened to be my name in such a multidimensional way, I couldn't help but wonder whether that was for a reason. Since I had a feeling that the name chose me equally so as I chose it, I felt a sense of responsibility to question its current meaning and see how does it actually align to its purpose at this point in time in human evolution, and whether I, as a holder of that name, can determine its new meaning. So if you ask me, Mephistopheles isn't just this old-fashioned idea that you have to sell your soul to the devil in order to have earthly pleasures such as fame, wealth, status, control, endless sexual experiences, etc. It can take form of literally anything that is standing in the way of you realizing the purity of the essence within yourself and your potentials. And that which stands in your way is there to show you the way. It is the human earthly construct of self, positively or negatively charged, that gets externalized into everything and everyone around you. You can also see it as a framework through which you experience life or light. And yes, it has a potential to allow what we would call bad or evil. That's one of the properties of the planet Earth. But it doesn't have to be. It mostly always comes with a choice for you to practice your discernment and apply your free will, if you have one. Even if positively charged, it is still a construct that belongs to earthly spaces, and as long as earthly present, it is still necessary. Mephistopheles is what constructs our human experiences. It is our physical bodies that are bound to the laws of physics. It is the languages we speak that give us a chance to connect and the pleasure of expressing ourselves, but also divide us, as there is not even one single language that is being understood and spoken by all the people on the planet. It is the energetical imprint we carry from our lineage. It is our locally shaped minds, enriched by culture and traditions and all of its shenanigans. It is the habits we build for ourselves. It is the systems we build for ourselves. It is the professions we choose for ourselves that have predetermined roles that demand the control of our life force. It is the games you play on your phone when you know that you could or should be doing something else. It is pretty much anything you can think of, including people who love to brag about how they have transcended their Mephistophelesness. And now they're asking you to please like, share, and subscribe. Speaking from the space of pure love and light, of course. I believe that as long as we are earthly present in a human form, as long as we need to take care of other people and ourselves, as long as we need to pay bills, converse with one another, carry out our purpose, be a member of any community, we need our Mephistopheles. I believe if you are a part of a society, you need to know who you are, you need to know what you're about, you need to be able to speak for yourself, you need to be able to do something, be something, you need to be able to contribute somehow with your presence. You need to be able to go about and move through the world. For all of that, you need your Mephistopheles. And as long as you're here on the planet, you better know your Mephistopheles well. And you better shape it in a way that you want it to be shaped. Because if you don't, somebody else does it for you. And then you fall victim to your Mephistophelesness. Or even worse, you make everybody else victims of your Mephistophelesness. I think the earth is getting a little bit too old for that. There certainly is time and space where Mephistopheles isn't needed or present, but most of our earthly lives are not designed to be operated from that space for a prolonged period of time. And those who do operate from that space, they don't have a need to brag about it. And as soon as they do, they're back to their Mephistopheles. To fully realize the self is what I stand for with my work. My paintings have never been just painting skills plus aesthetics plus material. They include going into the center of me, facing shortcomings, feeling whatever there is to feel, exploring the construct of self, learning how to listen and hear the body, being present in and outside of the body. Where do we, all aspects of me and all of us universally, lie to ourselves? Where do we hold limitations for ourselves? Where do these limitations come from? Why do we have them? Why do we obsess over certain things? Why do we obsess over certain people? How do we identify ourselves in certain scenarios? Why are our bodies repeating certain scenarios even though our minds have figured those out long ago? Etc. I think regaining honesty and building a good relationship with self is important. Neglecting it gives you no self-mastery. Naively, since I was a child, I believed that all of the people who are very successful at what they're doing, primarily celebrities, anybody who is really good at what they're doing, and especially people who are working in service to others, people that work in law enforcement and healthcare, teachers, priests, and so on. I believed that they must be good people in order to do the jobs that they were given to do. In other words, I believed that all of these people working in those positions, that they have a solid foundation of understanding the humanness of themselves. I believe that that must be the basic requirement of having a job where you're being in service to others. But most of them, they don't. That's why we're now watching the world fall apart. I don't believe that you can realize your Mephistophelesness simply by watching this video or any other video. I believe you must live your life and eventually you'll figure it out. But I hope it paints a picture. And if it doesn't, I painted plenty of them, so please have a look. Should I change my name? I thought about it so much. But here's the thing. I'm talking about changing Mephistopheles, because Dolores is simply too beautiful to be ever changed. But Mephistopheles, we can talk about it. If I change my name and choose a name that is a little bit more approachable, more positive, leaves a better impression on people, if I would change my name in order to gain better results, in order to make people want to do business with me, buy my paintings, or be in my life, that's Mephistophelian in and of itself. If I don't change my name because I choose to honor my individuality, that's Mephistophelian as well. Being in a position where I'm Mephistophelian if I do, and Mephistophelian if I don't, is a Mephistophelian again. Being aware of being Mephistophelian is not Mephistophelian. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. Dolores Mephistopheles is my artist name, at least when it comes to painting and red, blue, black and white. It's my name. I claim it. It's not somebody else. And if it is, it's not me. But I don't operate exclusively under that name. What bothered me when I was a teenager doesn't bother me anymore. In fact, actually, I like my original last name. I'm also happy to explore other names and other concepts and other colors to create with. However, Mephistopheles has its own Instagram account where it is happy to share signs of life in whatever form red and blue colors present themselves to me. But in order to distinguish itself, because that's what Mephistopheles does, Mephistopheles created a separate Instagram account to its spirit. And spirit doesn't use Instagram. Spirit knows very well that social media is based on Mephistophelesness. Spirit has no need for doing such things. Spirit already runs the Mephistopheles. Spirit just is. It is all of me, and all of you, and everyone, and everything, everywhere, at the same time. Over the years, I've changed my points of view and my beliefs and my truths so many times that it makes me certain I will change who knows how many times in the future. That said, change of name is not unlikely. Since the start of the painting, there were concepts that helped me determine my focus and the direction of healing, whose understanding made everything seem fall into place, only to realize at some point that life has always been, is, and always will be way much more than any concept could ever try to explain it. Concepts are just concepts. At some point, they become illusionary. But even if I make this drastic and dramatic decision of disowning my name, what I started as Dolores Mephistopheles, and that is noticing red and blue everywhere, will always be there, far beyond my physical presence or any name that I might have. And that is a sign of life. As long as there is any life on the planet Earth or beyond that has ability to perceive colors, there is always going to be something that is red and blue.